Hi, and welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Jonathan. So I'm going to start the webinar very shortly with my colleague AJ. But before we do, I'm going to run a very quick, short sound check with you guys, please. So could you please press the raise hand button on your screen just to confirm me that you can hear me well? Yes, perfect. If you can press the raise hand button just to make sure you can hear me well, it will be perfect. Thank you, Vasos. I can see you can hear me. That's perfect. So thank you so much. We are really, really excited to have you. We can see so many people today. It's amazing. So we are really happy to speak about a very interesting live session, how to supercharge your LinkedIn and become an account thought leader. So before we start this very exciting session, I'm going through a very short housekeeping. So if you can go to the next slide. Perfect. Thank you so much, AJ. So you are all on mute, so we can't hear you, but you can hear us. We will run a Q&A live session at the end of this webinar. There is a Q&A box on your screen, so please use it, post your question, share your comments. We're more happy to hear from you. It's very important for us. This webinar is for you, so please don't hesitate to ask any question you have. So this webinar will be recorded, and you will receive by email after the session the recording link. And also, we would love to for you to complete our survey. So honestly, it will take you a few seconds, few minutes, and it will be so much helpful for us. So please make sure to complete our survey. I will send it to you by email. Thank you so much again, and enjoy your session. Over to you, AJ.
Hi everyone, good afternoon, welcome. My name is AJ and I will be covering our LinkedIn session this afternoon. We've got a lot to go through and only a short and sweet amount of time together, so I'll just very quickly go over what we're going to cover today, and then as Janat said, we hopefully will have a bit of time for questions at the end. So we'll do a very quick bit of get to know each other. We will cover the basics, but I don't want to go too basic. We will look at some content planning, how we look at training the algorithm, building community as well, and then any time left at the end will be for questions. So let's kick off and get to know each other. Because you might be wondering, who is this guy and what do I have to say about being on LinkedIn? Just for anybody who hasn't met me yet, hi, I'm AJ. I'm the social media manager for Intuit UK, working across QuickBooks and other brands. I cover predominantly organic social media, influencer. I work on video content and with our community management as well. Before being at Intuit, I was working for Team GB as a social media manager. I worked at Travel and Leisure for a while, and then a various other suite of national and international brands, including OK Magazine as well. And when I'm not doing that in my day job, I often guest speak for publications like BBC News, Sky, Telegraph, largely talking about the online communities, social media, and web culture as well. So that's me, but I would love to know, before we start, who are you? And more importantly, I'd like you to rate yourself on where you think at the moment your skill set is for LinkedIn. From 1 to 5, I'd love you to put in the chat and just get a sense of where everybody, 1 being ready to learn and 5 being I'm a pro, I've got this. I'd love to see in the chat if you just rate yourself. I've put myself at a 4. I think, you know, nobody knows everything. The algorithms are constantly changing, and you've got to know where your shortfalls are. I think for me personally, I understand the platform and how it works, but one thing that's really key with LinkedIn is consistency, and I certainly am not consistent myself yet with the posting. So I think if I was more consistent, then I'd be more confident to push myself perhaps to more of a 5. But good to see where everybody's at from your 1s to your 5s. Thank you for adding them in. If there are any more 1 to 5s where you would rate yourself, that's great. And we will push straight on. So the basics, but not too basic. I wanted to start really quickly by talking about the difference between brand and personal profiles, because this session, we are focusing predominantly on personal profiles, and there is a reason for that. Brand pages are fantastic for showcasing your business, your practice, and for sharing company news and or customers or clients information, but it comes with a caveat. LinkedIn was predominantly made to be a social network and for people. And in fact, there was a study done by a company called Just Connecting, who are a LinkedIn training hub in the Netherlands, and they do an annual benchmarking study. And their latest one, their fourth benchmarking study, showed that compared to personal profiles, business pages get 11% less reach right off the bat, because LinkedIn really is about interpersonal connection, and it's about real people. So by leading with your personal profile and creating content personally, you're straight out of the gate going to get even more potential reach and therefore potential more engagement, that kind of thing. And that's really why we're focusing today on the personal profiles rather than sort of the brand profiles. Maybe we'll do another session on brand profiles as well, but for today, it's all about you and how we position you as more of a thought leader in the space. Okay, so let's run through a little bit of the profile setup, and where we start is probably, and I'm not going to teach you how to suck eggs, probably to start is the profile picture. The reason that it's the most important, if you haven't got it sorted yet, it should just be a head and shoulders. A block color background is definitely best, something that's really clear and recognizable that it's you. You can also build your own ones online. You don't have to be a photographer. You don't have to have all the skills, because you can. I use this this platform here called pfpmaker.com. It's a really easy editing. You can put in any pictures there and it will remove the background. You can put colors around it, things like that. And having something, as I said, recognizable, a color or something in your background that's clear but blocks and shows who you are, is going to be really useful for people as they're scrolling on their LinkedIn feed to just see you and recognize the color and recognize what to expect, I suppose, from your content or from your story that you're showing. So that's profile picture. Next, we come on to the second most important thing, probably the banner. Banners are amazing free real estate. I can't tell you the amount of people I see who aren't yet utilizing their banner for the best possible reasons. I tend to think that the best way to use a banner is either for promotional use or proof use. So I tend to call that promo or proof, and we'll talk about exactly what I mean by that in just a second. You also have to consider, how does your banner look on mobile? Because 60% of people are using LinkedIn on mobile, and it is only growing. So not only considering people working on desktop, but also mobile and tablets, and who knows, people looking on your TV screens, I don't know. But back to promo or proof. I'm going to use some examples as we go through this. For using your banner for promotional purposes and to kind of sell yourself in an image is a really valuable tool. This example, Leah Turner, if you don't know Leah, she is a LinkedIn guru. In her own words, if Carlsberg made LinkedIn trainers, if you're not following Leah Turner already, highly recommend you check her out. She provides so much value on how to become a thought leader, how to level up your LinkedIn too, and I constantly take inspiration from her. So Leah is using her banner for promotional use. She's telling you exactly what she does on the tin. She's designed a simple image for herself, and she's really shown her brand style, her personality, as she has done in her profile picture. So that's kind of tied it together really nicely, because it is a branded piece, but it should also feel really authentic to you while also selling yourself the best way that you can. On the flip side of promotional, there is also proof. So I use proof in my example, and Stephen Bartlett here, a dragon in the business world, is using his banner for proof. But what do we mean by that? He is showing that everything that he says on his profile lives up to it. He's selling out theatre venues at the moment. He's got his live show, his award-winning podcast as well. So he's using his banner to legitimize himself, and that's something that you might want to think about as well, particularly if you do any speaking or working with clients or achievements that you could be showing in your profile to show the proof of why you're a thought leader and why people should be following you as well. And then over to an accounting example, this Johan Gori, one of our strategic partners into QuickBooks, and a fantastic LinkedIn content creator as well. Johan uses his banner also for promotional. You can see that he's promoting On Point Accounting Group, his practice, and also Ask the Accountant, a wonderful weekly podcast as well. So it's a great space to be able to show you know, whatever you want to promote. There's also QuickBooks Labs, which is his other podcast just behind his profile picture too. But again, considering how this would look on desktop versus on mobile, it's really important to consider. So that's promo or proof. And if you're not a graphic designer, don't worry, you don't have to be. You can literally go to canva.com. You can search up LinkedIn banner, and it will give you a bunch of pre-made options. I really recommend, if you've just got 10 minutes and want to do something easy to spruce up your profile, where you're not just picking a picture out of your iPhone gallery or whatever, just spending 5-10 minutes to put in some colors that resonate to your personal brand and your style, put in your name, put in what you do, and a nice picture of yourself, and it will go a really long way. So that's banner. Moving down the profile and looking at a few other pieces. Next most important would be your headline. Why is a headline important? Well, if my slides wanna, there we go. It is arguably the most important part after your profile picture of your page. The reason that it's most important is because it's your chance to sell yourself. Give the readers your unique selling point, it's your positioning, and it's most important, I can't stress this enough, to go for clarity over cleverness. I think particularly for me, I've often found that we read things like humans, right? And particularly headlines. I think too often on LinkedIn, you'll often see lots of jargon and lots of like one word sort of stacked together, because people want to sort of get across their whole CV and all of their achievements on one screen or on one couple of lines. But honestly, focusing on clarity and sounding like a real human being. I'll use myself as an example, but by no means saying that mine's perfect. But mine talks about what my job is. So I'm a social media manager at Intuit, the things that I cover, so brand, social, web culture, and video. And then also I end with a question, more on that in a second. So I would look at the way I would recommend of structuring your headline is looking at benefits, your USP and your selling points. A good framework to think about is something like, I help audience blank benefit by offering service that second benefit. By doing that in what, 90 characters or something, just a couple of short words, you're identifying to people reading who it is that you're trying to attract or approach, the benefit that you're offering them by the service, and then an extra benefit of that as well. That really, somebody looking at that is much more likely to want to connect with you, to follow your content, and to come along for the journey. They will have bought in by that. But it's really important to consider as well, like I said, for mobile first. And did you know that in mobile, only 70 characters of your headline will show? So it's most important to consider the information, the order of your information, and to go to the most important information first. As Johan has done here in this example, a chartered manager, QuickBooks strategic partner, podcaster, you know, he's front weighted his headline to really show the impact and show why he is a thought leader in his space. So the 70 characters are the most important. Other things just to consider for your headline, I'll really skim through these quickly. Industry keywords, it's really important to include as well. Consider who you're trying to help. What problem is it that you're trying to solve? What professional attributes will help you stand out from the rest? What unique value can you bring to the table? And what relevant accomplishments do you have under your belt? But most importantly, in boiling that all down to one point, why would somebody want to click on your profile? What makes yours different? What is the incentive for them to click? And that is what I would really want you to think about. A little bit of the best of the rest. And sorry, before we go on to that, as I said, closing with a call to action. We have to treat people on social media as, you know, they don't know what we're asking them. So we need to tell them exactly what we're asking them. So for me, I'm obviously talking about all things social media, and that's my call to action to media, to partners that we work with, and to practices. I want people to talk to me about it. So I've put a couple of key points of there on for me, but closing with a call to action, something that people can take away, or what they should do when they follow you is really important. As I said, who do you want your audience to do? What do you want your audience to do? And be direct, most important. So the best of the rest. Hashtags. I don't know how many of you use hashtags on LinkedIn. If you don't, or you've not seen how to yet, in a moment I'll cover exactly how to do that. But hashtags are really great for increasing your exposure and surrounding yourself with like-minded people in your industry too, or going after clients in specific verticals that you cover. I don't know if you've seen, there's also a voice button next to your name on LinkedIn that allows you to record a quick audio clip that is intended to be how you pronounce your name, but there's no rules. So I, perhaps slightly sneakily, use mine to just read out my headline. So when you click on my voice clip, it says, "Hi, I'm AJ Brunand, I'm a social media manager at Intuit," and just kind of, it's a really personable and fun way of being able to bring your human self to the social media platform. And LinkedIn really is moving in the direction of being personable. So short of, before people even see your content, before they see the pictures and the videos and things that you post, having that as your banner at the top is a really great way to just humanize your content and let people get to know you just by the sound of your voice. Outside of the voice button, there is creator mode. So if you've not heard of creator mode, I can't tell you how important that it is to switch on. There is a setting in your profile, and creator mode is the difference between having what you would consider a personal profile versus a thought leader profile on LinkedIn. So by using creator mode, it allows you to get access to certain creator tools, including the hashtags, which let people find you by your interests. It allows you to showcase more content on your profile, which we'll talk about in a second, and also just get access, get discovered in various different ways as well. So creator mode, we like creator mode. We think creator mode's a good one. And I talked very briefly about the features, and I don't have time to talk on it too much, but with creator mode, you can access a featured section, which I would use personally. And of these examples here, it's not necessarily to big yourself up or to over promote or show off, but actually to show people how you can, again, add most value and what your positioning and your unique selling points are. So for example, if we look at Johan's, which is on the bottom left, we can see, so his first featured post is around that he spent the day with the Intuit QuickBooks team at an event. That just showing some proof that he's working with QuickBooks. He's representing the brand at an event and speaking to that was to small businesses. It's great. It's a great proof example. The second one, his podcast, again, great promotional opportunity. And third, he talked about being a strategic partner as well, which again is another promotional tool. So just by looking at that featured section, and if you look at Stephen Bartlett's one, for example, on the bottom right, or even Leah's one on the top right as well, you can see how much extra value you can get by just showcasing. It doesn't even need to be your posts that are your most popular posts or the ones with the most likes. It really is more important to focus on the posts that are going to show that value or show what you're all about and why people should consider following if they haven't already. It's also really important that I mention, with creator mode, people can follow you. So when they connect with you, ordinarily for a LinkedIn profile, you will just connect with somebody. And that's a two-way, connecting is a two-way street. So they will see all of your content and you will also see all of their content. The difference between using creator mode and having a follower button, people can still connect with you. It's a little bit trickier to do, but with the follow button, it means they're connecting with you and getting all of your content, but it means that you don't then have to see all of their content as well. So particularly if you're trying to position yourself as a thought leader and you want to keep your profile locked down to people who are going to add you value and people who you're going to get content from that resonates with you, as opposed to just following everybody or being connected with everybody, sorry, then the follower button is a really key way of doing that. There is loads more, so much more that I could cover, and we are already rocketing through our time. But just very quickly, the best of the rest. Obviously, there is an about section. There is your experience. I think be thorough, but be specific and concise with the about and experience. There's your education. I think less important these days. I think your proof, other things in your profile speak louder for that. Recommendations, also really important. I always give without take. I give recommendations wherever I can. And that is the end of the first section. Are you still with me? I know that was an awful lot to cover. I hope that you might have potentially found a couple of little tweaks, even if you were one of the 4s or 5s. Hopefully you found something that you might want to change. So who's got some changes to make? Let me know in the chat if you've got changes that you have to make, and we will roll on to talk about content planning. I know that we are rocketing through our time, so I will try and cover this as quickly as I can. So we've set up your profile and who you are and what you look like, but what do you even have to say? Even as a social media manager, my actual full-time job, knowing sometimes what you want to talk about is daunting. Those words sitting on the screen is it can be scary. It's the equivalent of sitting with a blank page, right? Or sitting with a blank spreadsheet. Not that we use spreadsheets, eh? I have to tell you, as a social media manager, we plan out a month's worth of content. For example, this is what our content calendar looks like for our new Intuit Accountants UK social channels, which, by the way, we are just launching a new set of social channels across Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can follow us at Intuit Accountants UK. Online, and this is what our content calendar looks like. We have everything sort of planned out and scheduled for the next month. We're currently looking at the start of May's content to make sure that we've got everything locked down for that. And things will move, of course, but knowing that the topics that we want to talk about is really important for us as a brand. But we don't expect that for personal profiles, you know, unless you are as organized to do that. And if you are, I would like to take a webinar from you. That is definitely a skill that I could use. So instead, for the moments that you do have where you can sit down and consider what you want to post, the way that I used to do it is I would sit down every week on a Sunday. I would carve out 30 minutes to an hour to consider, what do I want to post on social media to position myself as a thought leader this week. And LinkedIn now allows you to schedule posts. So on that box that I showed you before, just down the bottom right, you'll see the timer. That will allow you to schedule any LinkedIn posts. So I'm not saying that you should or shouldn't, but you now have the option to write out your content for a week, for a month, for the next couple of days, whatever it is, and then schedule it. And on that day and time, it will post itself. That's not all of the job done, because of course, when the post goes out, you do want to interact with it and engage with the comments, but having that bank of content almost sat and ready to go on various different topics is a really great way to get ahead, particularly if you're on the go during the week and then you have that 30 minutes to kind of sit down once a week and dedicate time to writing out content or uploading pictures, that kind of stuff. So the scheduling button, we like the scheduling button. That's a good button. And it's really important to do that as well, because I don't know if you know, again, from the benchmarking study that Just Connecting did, if you do post on LinkedIn less than 2 times a week, your growth will be reduced by up to 50%. LinkedIn wants people who are active on the platform and who are engaged, and will promote people that are more engaged. So if you are only posting once a month or once every couple of weeks, you know, you will suffer for that and see that you won't get as much engagement. But when we're posting, it's not all about just posting pictures, videos, links. I wanted to just summarize and say that just doing a text post, if that's, you know, if there's a message you want to get out, sometimes text only is enough and can work. And just sharing what's on your mind or sharing something in text is fine too. This showing the average views on LinkedIn for different types of content. Actually, at the moment, we find that text posts, this from Agora Pulse, text posts work really well. Sometimes often better than link posts or photos. The lights have just gone off, so let me just wiggle and see if I can get the lights to come back on. There we go. It's all happening. And the other thing I just wanted to share on the note of sharing is that sharing posts, it is low effort, but honestly, it will also give you low reward. When you see somebody's post and think, I'm going to share that, that's really valuable. The algorithm is not so keen on that, because it's you know, it's very easy to do, but it's also, dare I say, you know, it's bordering into the lazy side of social media. Much more valuable and something that will position you as a thought leader, not only sharing that piece of content or whatever you're seeing on your timeline, but even just adding a couple of sentences, giving your specific point of view, adding your context to it, your background and your insight, is a great way to, number one, your post will reach more people if you share and include a couple of lines, but also, again, show your value, show what you have to offer to your followers. So sharing's not always caring. We're going to have to rattle through the next bit. I'm going to get told off talking too slowly, but when we look at content pillars, there are so many different directions you can go, and I will make sure that these resources are available to you guys afterwards so that you can fully digest and sit down, because we're not going to have time to go through everyone in detail, but just a couple of content pillar ideas, things to get you started. Of course, in accountancy and bookkeeping, reacting to timely trends, news, developments, not only from a product side or from a policy side or from HMRC side, reacting to that content and sharing your thoughts or what it means for businesses or clients of your practice or other people in your industry. It's a really easy way of being able to not come up with something from scratch, but just be able to add a little bit of value. Identifying pain points, also really important in content. Sharing your successes and building your proof, we've talked about quite a lot, but that can be really valuable. Again, humanizing your content and pulling back the curtain, particularly if we're looking at brand pages versus personal pages. Other platforms more so full of faces and personality, but LinkedIn also now is going the way of sharing family photos or pictures of your face, people in the office, things like that. Any chance to humanize your content and show the people behind the business is going to put you ahead, because people care about people. People don't care about faceless practices or corporate accounts. So the more that you can do that, not only in your personal profile, but also in your business page, is going to put you ahead too. Sharing content from best-in-class peers as well. What better way to align yourself with experts in your industry than to be sharing their content and adding extra additional value to it. And then engagement content as well, asking questions authentically, creating posts that are designed for people to share their expertise and give their points of view. Asking questions, but in an authentic way, is a great way to build engagement. And honestly, there is so much more. This is a way that I would, if I was looking to put it down as a social media manager into a bit of a content plan, this is probably what it would look like. But there's even more, there's a couple more examples, things like creating top 5 lists of things, maybe it's podcasts or books that you've read or that kind of thing. Sharing things that inspired you over the weekend. A really simple, hopefully very personal way to add a little bit of character and flavor, but also value. Answering questions from your niche. We talked about reacting to industry news, recommendations. I think even posts like showing your desk, maybe I'm just nosy, but I find that content often is the one that I will spend more time on and be like, what is that weird thing on their desk? So, a great way to engage your followers and let them know a bit of your personality, as well as being able to see that you're a professional and that you're a thought leader again. There's a few other examples on there, but we've got to keep going. And again, even more, I've put some post thought starters, things like, when I started out, I thought X, but now I realize Y. Starting with a blank page is really hard. You can even Google just LinkedIn post starters or post ideas or thought starters, that kind of thing, and you'll get hundreds of examples. But if you want a screenshot, or again, I'm going to make sure that we get these resources to you afterwards, this is probably an easy place to start. And in terms of structuring the post, there are so many different frameworks for trying to structure the perfect post to fit the algorithm. It's just too much. Honestly, if I were you, I would just keep it simple. I'd focus on humanizing your content, writing content that you would like to read, that's not too complicated. And again, schedule it, have it in the bank, have time to sit down and plan it and think it through authentically, and then you'll be gold. We like the scheduling button. There are some content things to consider, like we talked about order of information, assuming people that will read as little as they have to. So the most important information that's going into your post should be right at the start. Instead of starting like it's a story, start with the punch, with the hook, and then build the story down from there. Pictures and videos aren't always the go, text works just fine too. Starting with a hook, and I've put here, don't be a clickbait bro. Somebody who will, clickbait is often used online, but I think what you really want to do as a thought leader is add the value. And if you are going to use a hook, actually deliver on it and show, when people get to the end of your content, they want to feel like they got what they came for, or that they really bought what you were selling. So clickbait, not always the one. Put yourself in their shoes as well. Would you comment or bookmark on this? I think about this whenever I create a post for social media. If I was reading this the other way around, would I care about it? And that's often where I start to think about the types of content I'm creating. And again, low effort often equals low reward. So just to summarize as well, where we talked about before, your personal content and your brand content coming together, your audience values, your lived experiences, and your perspectives, when you combine that and share posts from brand accounts and from other areas of the industry, bringing it all together, that's where you will see the real magic start to happen on LinkedIn. And that's what I want for you. So we are, I think, almost at time. I'm gutted to say I don't know if we have the chance to go over, but
that's all
I
right.
will
Thank you so
maybe
much.
just run through see what we've got here.
Yes, let's start the Q&A session. So I'm going to start with a question that I've seen quite often. How can I maximize my reach on LinkedIn and gain more followers?
That's a really good question. I think using not only a lot of the tools that we've talked about today, I think by maximizing your reach, a good place to start is not only considering yourself as a poster, but also as an engager yourself. I think all ships rise with high tide, and by sharing and commenting on other people's content and not just adding an emoji to somebody else's post, but actually providing value on their content is also a really good way for other people to then see your content and want to click through and be like, oh, they look like a thought leader. What can I add to that? So I would start with, actually, if you want to increase your engagement, engage with other people's content first.
Excellent. And I have another question from Doug. Do you need to be on the paid version of LinkedIn to get all these features?
Yeah, it's a good question. So LinkedIn do have a premium feature. I have used it in the past, but I don't know, maybe a good way of demonstrating what I think about it is that I'm not using the paid version, and I don't know all that many creators that are, sometimes you can get a trial. It's great to be able to see who's looking at your profile and actually being able to click through and maybe engage with them proactively is a useful feature. But otherwise, I think, honestly, the free features are the core of the platform, and that's what I'm working with.
Yes, very good. Let's take a couple of questions again. A question from Neville: what is the expected range of and what metric clicks links for successful business from LinkedIn?
What was the, sorry, what is the successful?
What is the expected range and what metrics, clicks, time links for successful business from LinkedIn?
I think, it depends what the call to action of your post is, will depend on what the metrics of success are going to be. I think for personal content, LinkedIn is great for growing your brand awareness and for increasing engagement. So there, I think you'd be looking at things like impressions, you'd be looking at things like your engagements. But if it is content that you are trying to drive to your website or to your practice or to a lead generation form, for example, then you can look at, we look at things like link clicks, and then we pick that up on our algorithm, on our analytics on our website. We personally use a mix of Google Analytics and Adobe Analytics. And by being able to see not only the stats on your social media, where it will tell you here was how many people clicked through, but then look on your analytics on your website and see what people did when they got to your website. Did they go to the contact page? Did they go to the pricing page? That kind of thing is really useful too. So it depends what kind of content you're creating, but there's different metrics for every type of post.
Excellent.
Trying to answer these as quick as I can, so I apologize that I'm not going too in depth with them.
Yes, excellent. Last question from Bella. How do I know if I'm getting the most out of LinkedIn?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I honestly think you get out what you put into it. I think you, by building your, hopefully building your profile as a thought leader and creating a community is a great way for, it speaks for itself. I think I've had the joy of getting several different job opportunities via LinkedIn, but also getting speaking opportunities. I think growing as a thought leader, that can often be a goal for people. If you can have a combination of speaker opportunities or gaining customers to your practice, or just gaining people that are in your industry and are talking about the latest innovations and helping you increase your knowledge as well. I think success to each person is going to look a little different, but like I said, you get out what you put into it, and whatever your outcome is, invest that little bit of time that you can to just get started. It doesn't have to be perfect on LinkedIn, but starting will give you better results than not starting.
Excellent. Thank you so much, AJ. Hopefully this webinar will be very, very helpful. I've learned new things today, so this is perfect. Thank you so much, and see you next time. Yes.
I was just going to add, if anybody does want to add me on LinkedIn as well, I'm very happy to connect afterwards too. Or if you have any questions, we can connect, and I'm sure we can share out the slides as well. So hope to speak to you all soon. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Have a good afternoon.